Hello, beauties. Well, where do I start? Oh my goodness me. Yesterday, after I recorded that transmission on top of the Tomb of the Giants, which was phenomenally powerful to receive them, just some really clear understandings, downloads, transmissions of what was happening there in that area. And connecting very deeply, and the energy up there where I recorded that last transmission was very, very palpable. It was very, very powerful. I was experiencing a lot of shaking in the body, tremoring and trembling with the energy that was moving through me. I was singing. There was a lot of toning and really ancient song that was coming through. And then we paid our respects and we left. I've written a story. Like, I was up until 2 o'clock in the morning. The downloads were off the charts. And something triggered it again last night, which I'll share with you in a minute. But it was like I was being electrified. It was like I had plugged my fingers into a wall socket and was being fully downloaded with Pasupati, whatever you want to call it, source energy. And that happens sometimes for me in the really strong temples in Bali, and particularly in Java. And when I go and see my beautiful Michelle, my acupuncturist, she's like, what the hell has happened? She's like, you literally feel like you have 1,000 watts running through you, like something has majorly shifted in your energy. And this is what I experienced yesterday, but it didn't come without its like bang and without its enormity. So I tuned in and everything felt beautiful. I said goodbye to Dorota and Nadim and David and Giacomo, and off they went, and then we went up the top. I recorded that transmission. We were leaving, and then as soon as I left the site, I had this like pain, sharp, like a dart being into the back of my neck on the left-hand side. And Lars said that he experienced it on the right-hand side. So all I had on hand was some Palo Santo oil and rosemary oil. So I'm there, we're driving in the car on our way to the airport, and first I clear myself and then I clear him. And as soon as I did that, I just took a sip, I took a drink of water, and I felt like a pair of hands go around my throat and squeeze my throat, and I started to choke. It wasn't just the water going down the wrong way, it was literally like my windpipe was completely cut off and closed. And so I couldn't get my breath, so I had to like wind down the window and like spit the water out the window so that I could breathe. And then I'm like, pull over, I said to Lars, because I needed to find something to clear myself, and quick. And so the car was barely stopped, and I'm getting out the door already as the car still, he hadn't even stopped the car. And I'm like rummaging, trying to find my agua florida, my flower water. And it felt on the inside like I was being wrestled with. It felt like something had come in, and it was in some way in that moment. I could have put all kinds of stories to what was actually happening, but it was trying to get my attention. And it was not going to leave until I was listening. Anyway, so I blew the flower water, and I cleared myself. I felt the grip release, and I'm like, like this, like getting my breath back. Oof. And then I got back in the car, and I was like, okay, and I was spinning. And I was like, okay, we're good. And I was grounded, but I was very, And then I wasn't hungry because I'd only just eaten, but this ravenous, like caveman type of hunger came over me. And I started like eating all this stuff. And in my conscious mind, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is to ground the energy. But I hear this voice saying, oh, I haven't eaten like this in over 1,000 years. What? Excuse me? And this voice is saying this over and over in my head. I'm trying to ignore it. I'm like, okay, and I'm doing all the things. Meanwhile, Lars has no idea what's going on apart from what he'd seen, but it's all happening internally. So I'm doing the work to pull myself back in and to clear and to ground myself. And it just wasn't budging. It did not want to leave. So we get 5 minutes from the airport, and I say to this being, what do you want? Clearly you're here to show me or tell me something. What do you want? And it said, start writing. And I was like, you've got 4 minutes. We're about to pull up to the airport. This is me negotiating with this thing. You've got 4 minutes. Start writing. So I pick up my phone and I'll type what came through, and it told me to close my eyes so that I didn't have any mind, so that it was just, I couldn't even see where I was punching on the keys, yet when I read it, it was almost perfect. There was only a couple of little mistakes that I had to change. And it downloaded this message. And then I was like, oh, great, okay, now you're done. This is out. We're going into the airport now. You need to leave. Get into the queue of the airport, and I'm still feeling this thing. And then I muscle tested, and of course it came back that it was still there. Anyway, what had happened was that this being was confused. Actually, he was very confused. What I was shown and what I was told is that he had been waiting so long to deliver this message, like literally possibly thousands of years, for us to come there and to receive what needed to be received. And all of a sudden he was out of his temple and in a fucking airport and inside another body, and he didn't know what was going on. So I just did something where my act of service, my aini, my reciprocity to this being was to liberate. So I liberated him and returned him to his true essence, to the light. And interestingly enough, he didn't go straight away. He decided to go back to the temple. I hung out in the temple for a while. I kept testing, and it was about an hour or two, and then he returned to his essence, which was really, really beautiful. But the amazing thing is that when I was on top of the temple and I was receiving those transmissions, I was looking at these masters in the rocks, and all I could hear, all I could see, all I was being shown in my vision while I was singing was two masters, an eagle and an otter. And I was like, an otter? What the fuck? I'm like, otters don't even exist in Sardinia. This is not a creature on this side of the world. Why the hell would I be getting given a visual of an otter, right, as a guardian? So then when we're driving home in the car last night, I decide to Google it. The inspiration just came. We were driving home, and I could feel the energy rising. Like I felt like a freight train. Like I had so much. The energy from what I received from the temple and what I was gifted was starting to really drop into the cell. So I was like this, and then I was like, oh, I need to Google otters in Sardinia, Sardinian otters. So I put this in, and you wouldn't believe it. It's not mythical, it was real, and it's extinct thousands of years ago. A giant, ferocious otter that was as big as a shark. It was bigger than a shark, and it was able to take a shark out with one bite with these huge jaws. And they found remains of this otter in caves on the east coast near where we were, a full fossil of this creature. And so I was just like, and I'll show you the picture that they made of it, that they painted of this creature, that was like a Loch Ness monster to them, like that they revered. And I'm just like, Lars. And I told him the story, and that's when I told him everything that was going on, because up until that point, he didn't know. He's just like checking in, he's like being my grounded mountain, doing all of the things, and I'm like, oh, fucking everything's going on over here. And then I was like, okay, if there was any more doubt, if there was even just a little squiggle of doubt of how real this shit is, I need to tell you something. And I told him, and I showed him the picture, and he was speechless. He was just like, what the fuck? And then to just to seal the deal altogether, I Google Sardinian eagle. And what comes through is that the Sardinian eagle, that they would carry a little talisman of a little gold talisman of this eagle. And when this was used, or wherever this was placed, it allowed the receiver to find the most powerful points of, you guessed it, magic. I copied and pasted it. I'll post it below. You can read it. So, wowzers. So then I get home last night and I'm like, and the downloads start coming thick and fast, as you know, and then 2:00 in the morning, I'm like, oh. Finally, I managed to go to sleep, pretty delirious, and had this sleep. And then Puma turns up to me in a dream. And this dream was so fucking strong. It was so clear and so precise and so strong. And I was going to finish it here because I know this is a long message. But I'll continue because I think this dream is important. So in this dream, I was bringing a lot of people together, and I was working with a shaman. Actually, I think it was in Australia. It was somewhere in a Western country that for some reason I really trusted in the dream. It's not like me at all, by the way, but I trusted and put a lot of trust into, probably put him on a pedestal in a way. And then Puma comes in to be a part of this group, and his frequency is so high, it's so freaking high and so crystalline that this man who was really confident before and knew everything that he was talking about got knocked off his perch, and he became like a blubbering, he couldn't even, it was like he knew nothing. It was like all the wisdom that he carried was empty. It didn't come from within him, it came from a concept and an idea. And then a spiral was drawn, and the spiral was going anti-clockwise. Now, when we work with an anti-clockwise spiral, we're working with the energies of the earth, we're working with the energies of the inner world, we're unraveling. This is why it was important to go back out in a clockwise direction, because that completes the process and finishes it off. And the clockwise is actually working with the celestial energies. So in this unraveling of this spiral going backwards, this man was pointing out to Puma these, now this might be something in here for us. In the spiral, there was something to be aware of. There were like black holes, and these black holes were vortexes of low frequency energy. And as we were preparing to walk the spiral, it was a journey into the center, and we knew that we were going to come across these portals of very low frequency energy, and that if we weren't resilient, aligned, clear enough, then we would be pulled down into these and possibly not be able to get back out. So this man was looking at it with all of this doom and gloom, you know, but Puma was just like a sword of light, like crystalline to the point, and he just kept repeating the same thing over and over again. And the message was, beware of false prophets. Protect yourself. Now, I never hear him use those words. Protect, 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 protect. And then this man would go, well, what about this and what about that? And he'd say, protect, 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 protect. Now, what does that mean, really? It means to stay in our crystalline frequency. It means to stay in our knowing ourselves as the crystal, in that high frequency energy. And the crystal that was being used in this situation was neon blue. It was like, the color of electric cobalt royal blue, like the color of Archangel Michael, if you want to put it like that. Divine love, divine will. So like a lapis, yeah, but neon. So it was a message and a very clear one, a message and a not a warning, but a hint. Beware of false prophets. So be very aware of who the energy and the attention and the awareness is going to. And the false prophets can even be in the mind, pulling you, into different belief systems and stories. And protect, protect, protect. Stay. If you're in that high frequency energy, then just like this fella that was in the thing, he had no hope. He just crumbled, because Puma was like, and I'm just witnessing all of this and getting the ahas, and seeing the duality, not the duality, but the difference between these two so-called masters, the false prophet and the true one. I'm not saying that Puma is a true prophet, but in the dream, there was the false prophet and there was the truth. And the truth was unshakable. And the false prophet just crumbled near the truth. Okay? So that's been my last, not even 24 hours. Jesus. So I'm on fire. I'm fully electrified, is the only way to say it. I feel like I've been struck by lightning yet again. So I'm excited because this means neck left time. So now it's just deepening the integration and allowing that to fully drop in, which is why I haven't done any work this morning yet. I've forest walked. I'm here sharing with you now and just allowing everything that came in to integrate, because if you don't give that to yourself, you will feel it in the body. You'll get knocked out. You have to allow these things to drop into the cells. Otherwise, the body, in its infinite wisdom, the soul in its infinite wisdom will shut you down until they can catch up with each other. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for listening. And stay tuned for what's next. Bye for now.